Hello everybody and welcome back to the English Shooting live stream. Of course, as always, I will be your host, Callum, for this evening. Hope you've all had a fantastic couple of weeks and of course a fantastic Christmas. Did anybody have any firearm shaped presents under the tree or any firearm shooting related presents? Let me know what Santa brought you and put under the tree using the chat box. And of course, don't be afraid to get involved if there are any topics or any questions you have. I don't bite, not unless you ask me to, but use that chat box, get involved, have your opinions heard, raise questions, talk amongst yourselves if you don't want to chat to me or listen to what I say as you so often do. But yeah, I hope you've all had an amazing festive Christmas period and are, like me, looking forward to getting back into the gym and burning it all off. Of course, most importantly, before we start, hit that like button. It does really make a big difference to the channel in growing and reaching new people and beating that YouTube algorithm. And if you're not already, hit that subscribe button because we try to do this every single week, and there are also new videos on the channel every single week as well. And I'm actually quite happy to be keeping to that recently. A new video this Sunday about the Phoenix range. God knows how long it's taken me to get a video of that range out. It really does not reflect how much I admire what those guys do and the amazing facilities. So perhaps we'll talk a bit about that later in the stream, but there is the video on the channel if you want a full in-depth tour of the Phoenix shooting range in Barnsley. And I am also working on the Double Juice shooting range tour, which I went to their open day earlier this year. But yes, in terms of firearms related Christmas presents, the Scottish Fairs Committee have given all of the Scots and most likely all of the shooters across the UK a very nasty Christmas present, or maybe this is their idea of some coal for us naughty lot that like to go and safely and legally responsibly use firearms within controlled environments. And they have released their recommendations from their report. So a little bit of backstory. I'm sure a lot of you are already fully aware of this, but earlier this year, around I think it was August the 10th or August the 11th 2022, there was a shooting on the Isle of Skye, something that they don't touch upon that often when discussing this, bearing in mind that this is the foundation and fundamental sort of spark or ignition into all of this review of firearms licensing within Scotland, is that he actually started this attack. There were, I think, there was one person that died that was shot, fatally shot. There was another person that was critically injured who was shot, but the attack started with a stabbing. So they're leaving that little detail out quite a lot. I actually, before the stream, doing a little bit of research, found out that it all kicked off with a stabbing. So it's, once again, it's sort of a bit meaningless, or maybe it's just, oh, well, as long as somebody doesn't get shot to death or someone isn't hurt by a gun, then that's okay. But if somebody gets stabbed, then, well, you can't really do much about that. What are you going to do? Ban knives? Well, of course, we have seen them try that. But yeah, this all started with a stabbing, and he tried to say the attempted murder of his wife. It was his wife that he stabbed, and then he went off and killed somebody with a gun and also shot somebody. But I believe the final person, third person involved, or technically fourth, he survived. But this ended up sparking a massive investigation and a look into the fitness of firearms licensing within Scotland. And it's not really sat right with me. I don't know, my tinfoil hat wearing persona, my little antenna, my bullshit antenna was tweaking. It seemed like a fairly disproportionate response to what was, okay, two people were shot, but one person had died. And yes, any person that, we don't want anybody being killed by lawfully held firearms, but there are a couple each year. The majority of firearms-related deaths are due to illegal firearms, and of course, where's the efforts to reduce that? But there does seem to be 1 or 2 each year at the hands of a legally held firearm. I could understand this reaction of having this massive inquiry and all these reports and recommendations if several people had been killed, or there are tens, 20, 30 people, and this was maybe on the back of a number of shootings, but quite an isolated single shooting where I say only one person was killed. That's still tragic enough, but it seems like they were very much looking for the excuse to go full ham with this, and I wouldn't downplay the influence of the Keyham shooting as well in this. So perhaps Scotland was sat there on the sidelines thinking, oh, we really need some justification. We've got some really good ideas for firearms licensing. We just need that one. Oh, there's one. Let's go run. Yeah, but actually, in the scheme of things, this wasn't that bad. No. We need to use this. Let's run with it. We've got all these brilliant ideas that we can say is now due to this one shooting. So it's always felt a little bit odd. Really, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of investigation, a lot of time and money spent just because of this one shooting. So, I would say bear that in mind. But what has been echoed within this report, or what has come out, is stuff that we have heard quite a bit about over the previous year or 2 years, certainly to do with firearm application cost increases. It's now... I don't think this is speculation anymore. I think we'd already reached that point. I think it was the Gun Trade News came out and said that, or there was a speak with the Gun Trade Association. There was a speaker from the Home Office, I believe it was, and they came out and basically said, yeah, we're reviewing it. And numbers of £200 to £300 are being thrown around. So, that's direct from the Home Office in terms of a wider UK. And now we've got the Scottish Affairs Committee coming out and saying, not in terms of the figure, but saying that fees should go up. But a little bit of, political landscape. Scotland is a separate country to England, and usually gets treated a little bit different, or they certainly handle their firearms licensing certainly differently to England and Wales. Basically, England and Wales is identical with their firearms law and their firearms licensing procedure. Northern Ireland is very separate, very similar, sort of uses the same foundation, but there are actually quite big differences. Ireland is completely different, and Scotland is somewhere between sort of Northern Ireland and England and Wales. So, they have a fair amount of freedom to do what they want, and that's why we've seen stuff like the airgun licensing in Scotland that hasn't come through to England and Wales. And on that note, that should give some solace to us that not necessarily everything that happens in Scotland we're going to see come within England and within Wales. But because of the synergies to what we've heard from the likes of the speaker from the Home Office and all of these firearm safety consultations and various Basque news articles, it very much looks like Scotland is really going out there and being the first one to sort of publicly call for this and say, really, this is what we need to see happen to make people safer. So this is the web page that has come out of it. I actually found this from Basque. I do actually use them quite a bit for seeing what's going on in the news. I don't solely use them because there's certain things that they like to slip under the net, like the whole thing about the NSRA basically ripping them a new one, saying, what the hell are you guys going on about with lead? But anyway, found this article, which then led me to this Scottish Affairs Committee, and Basque has expressed concerns over a potential increase. I don't think at this point there is any potential about it in the cost of firearms licensing applications in Scotland following the publication of a Westminster Committee report. Of course, we will be talking about this. Gun Control Network are heavily involved in this, despite having no expertise or real no formal qualifications or experience within firearms or firearms licensing. It's very much let's make up laws on how we feel. So the Firearms Licensing Regulations in Scotland, this is a House of Commons committee report with recommendations to government. The government has 2 months to respond. So yes, this isn't concrete, but I think we can all read between the lines, and a lovely little Christmas present there, just literally a few days before Christmas that it was released. And this is the report. So, of course, there is going to be various follow-ups. This isn't an automatic what they say is going to become law, but it's pretty much, again, you can read between the lines. A fairly lengthy document, but what we want to go through is just to the conclusions and recommendations. And the first one there on the agenda, the cost of firearms licensing. And it is very interesting the angle that they're coming at this from, or the implementation of this cost increase, which I think is completely backwards. So everything that's in italic is their actual recommendation. So let's just skip all the other gumph. We recommend that the UK government put in place a 2-tier system of firearms licensing cost. Very important there, UK, United Kingdom, Scotland, England and Wales. They are not just proposing this for Scotland, despite the fact that they could just propose this for Scotland and just implement it in Scotland. They're proposing this for the entire UK. This system ought to require individuals who use firearms for leisure to pay the full cost of their license applications with no intermediate financial cost to police forces or the taxpayer. The second tier would apply to those who use firearms for work purposes. To facilitate this, the UK government ought to produce a list of work purposes for firearms. That's going to be an interesting read, which would entitle license applicants to pay the second tier rate. We understand that there is a view that all firearms holders should consistently cover the cost of their own applications. However, we would err on the side of caution and encourage a UK government review to consider the implications that those costs might impose on those who rely on firearms for work, as well as a clear definition of work for the purposes of clarity. Following a thorough consultation with the affected parties, the UK government would be in a better position to take a decision on whether individuals who use firearms for work could have their licenses partly funded. So again, this is all very interesting because we've already had the firearm safety consultation. We've already seen them ask this question and people that would be affected, okay, what was it, some pitiful number of responses from our community once again, but they've already done this. So I mean, never let them put some taxpayers to waste by another meaningless consultation. But the really interesting thing, and something that I think we've talked about it on the channel before, is this idea of a 2-tier pricing structure. And the way that we've discussed it before is actually I think it should be the complete opposite. If you need the licenses professionally, then you should pay more. Well, I should, but I think there's more justification that if you are using your firearm or shotgun certificate for vocational reasons, for income generation, for your business, for your job, then it makes sense that that should be a fee and part and parcel of doing that job. The number one that people always bring up are lorry drivers. The amount of tests and medicals that they have to go through, or any driver that drives anything more than a normal car, or even just a normal car and a taxi driver, the licensing that you have to pay for it, the fees, the additional tests, the medicals, the additional insurances that you have to pay being a professional driver. And there are things like forklift tests and chainsaw tests and telehandler tests, and there's loads of all of these professional vocational tests and additional licenses that people that are doing it professionally have to go and pay. And when it comes to firearms licensing, they seem to switch that all on its head. If you're wanting to do it for leisure, you know, and you are just a normal taxpayer, then that's why you're a taxpayer, right? That's what the government should be there doing, is providing services for you that you are effectively paying with your tax. If you're running a business, you have additional taxes, you'd have different additional insurances, additional licenses, and you're earning money out of it. So therefore, you, in theory, should be able to roll that cost into your, you know, service plan, or, you know, whatever you charge. It just seems all very backwards. The people that really can't do without the license, and certainly can financially justify it more because they're earning money from it, are the ones that get a reduced fee. But the people that are doing it for a hobby, doing it as a pastime, recreationally, people that, you know, might only do it once a month, that might only spend £100 a year on some ammunition, or even less, for a little bit of fun down the range, those are the ones that are now going to have to pay, well, to be confirmed fee. And, you know, again, that's a whole other issue with, well, how much, the full cost. Well, if one licensing department, or the Scottish, because they've now centralised it, if they are completely inefficient, like, how are they going to how are they going to come to the number of what it actually costs them? Are they going to take the total cost of running the centralised firearms licensing department within Scotland, and then divide that by the number of certificate holders, and then, you know, adjust that year on year? Okay, last year it worked out to £150 per person, so that's what we're going to charge from now on. Or wait, it went up, it's 180 now, so now we're going to charge 180. Because for me, that's, again, completely backwards. That just encourages inefficiencies that encourage them, that there's no onus to be efficient and to save money. I mean, you know, public departments have a bad enough time as it is, not wasting or getting rid of budget, or spending money because it's not theirs. And now they're effectively going to be given the go-ahead to write their own blank checks. It just seems absolute. There needs to be, again, some impartial third party here that actually goes, no, sensibly, this is what it should cost for you to do the certificate. And I've said for a long time, I'm not actually so against us paying for the actual full cost of a certificate, as long as the service that is being delivered is worthy of paying full price for. You know, it's a little better at the moment, the shit service that we're getting, going, well, hang on a minute, we're not technically paying the full amount of it, we're getting a bit of a discount, so you sort of pay for what you get in some regard. But they start charging you the full whack, and they're still as bad as they are now. The service levels are decreasing. There's just no encouragement. There's no requirement for them to actually do the job. There's no requirement for a minimum service level, and they basically get to charge whatever they decide to spend in running that department. It just seems like an absolute nightmare. Of course, let's go back to I think this has to be my favourite report or favourite document of the year, because I think pretty much it's been in like almost every live stream since they released it. But you know, there's a huge problem that Basque highlighted with their review of firearms licensing departments in England and Wales earlier this year. And the biggest problem is the disparity, and this is where it is going to cause massive issues trying to decide what to actually charge. You know, you've got one force there that it works out to £87 per certificate. You've got another one, £521 for a certificate, £82 for a certificate, £300 for a certificate, £42 for a certificate. Like, these numbers are just nowhere close. So can we go to them and go, well, hang on a minute, guys, Humberside can do a certificate for £42.21. So actually, you're charging us like 80, 90 quid at the moment. We're going to pay you £42, right? Because that's it. It's been demonstrated that it can be done for this cost. Or are the police, the Home Office, the Scottish Affairs Committee, or whoever is going to make the final decision, are they going to go, well, actually, the biggest cost is £521, so we sort of need to cover all bases and make sure that we're not out of pocket, so we're going to charge the largest known sum that it costs for a certificate just to make sure that everything's fair. And then what happens when you get a department, a public department, making a profit? How's that going to work, right? How's that going to look? Oh yes, we need to charge for, you know, the full amount, and then suddenly they end up with hundreds of thousands of pounds in surplus cash. Like, what are they going to do with that? Well, they're going to probably hire more people. They're going to spend that money on the department, therefore increasing the cost of the department, therefore increasing the costs of the certificate. So it's just it could be this just endless cycle of the certificates increasing. But yeah, I think it's pretty fair to say now we are going to see the certificates increase. To what amount, we don't know. As long as whatever metric they decide to do it by, whatever logic and reason, as long as it is logical, as long as it is reasonable and it is justified and they sort themselves out and actually deliver the service that they are paid to do, I don't think a £200 certificate every 5 years is really anything to cry about. I know there are going to be some very casual, very budget sensitive shooters out there that £200 every 5 years, or effectively £40 every year, could make a big difference, and that's not on. Maybe instead of this tiered system between between vocational and recreational, perhaps it should be means tested. Perhaps it should be, you know, what tax bracket you're in. You know, if you want to talk about a fair and equal society, you know, those that, you know, they're either on benefits or even just don't even break over the tax-free allowance, those are the people that are going to really struggle to be able to keep up with shooting and to afford shooting, to pay these increased fees. Whereas, you know, somebody that has a match pair of, you know, Holland and Hollands costing 100k plus, £200, £2,000, £20,000, I don't think they're really going to worry that much when they're going on these £10,000-£15,000 driven pheasant days. Yeah, paying a few £1,000 for their license, not really going to worry about it when they're driving around in a £150,000 Range Rover with a £100,000 matched shotgun. So yeah, there seems to be no real fairness. But as long, this is a big if and a big optimism here. But if it is fair, if it is honest and it is reflective, I think it gives us a little bit more strength as shooters, and it gives firearms owners out there the ability to say, hang on a minute, we do pay our way. We aren't a cost to taxpayers. We are, you know, benefiting society. We are not a drain. But yeah, that is the biggest. There's loads of other changes. I'm focusing on this because this is probably the one that is going to get talked about quite a bit. But there are a number of other fairly major recommendations that have been made. And of course, contradictions. We'll get onto the contradictions. They seemingly really don't like the referee system. They're proposing a review of the referee system to determine whether it is fit for purpose. This review ought to address the issue of individuals canvassing for positive references or putting pressure on people to give positive references. For example, by engaging in the peer pressuring behaviours which may be experienced in smaller communities, or coercion as a feature of domestic violence. But your partner can't be your referee. Right? Like, your spouse cannot be your referee. So, you know, if you wanna get into some domestic violence, that's like okay, but well, no, it's not okay, but it's not going to achieve anything because you can put them on the reference as a referee. It's not going to go anywhere. Anyway, this review should also address the options open to police when individuals change referees between application and renewals and between subsequent renewals. While policy relating to the police is generally a devolved matter, the UK government ought to be looking to share best practice with the Scottish Government and Police Scotland. The thing is that they are, in a way, sort of onto something, but sort of missing the point completely. Like, of course you're going to canvass for a positive reference. Like, they're saying it like they're exposing some really dirty little secret. like every conversation of asking someone to be a reference goes something like this. Oh, you're right, mate. Yeah. How long have we known each other? Over 2 years? Over 2 years. Right, you're pretty sound chap. No convictions. No issues with the police. No, pretty sound guy. Yeah. Would you you got any issues with guns? No. You know that I'm into my shooting. Yeah. Any problem with that? No. Would you be my reference for my firearms certificate? Yeah, sure. Would you give me a good reference? Like, that's the number one question that people, you know, it's will you be my reference? And will it be a good reference? Because nobody in their right mind is going to put forward a reference that is going to be like, nah, I wouldn't trust him with a spoon. Never mind a firearm. Like, come on. It's, of course you're going to be canvassing. Of course you're going to be asking them to give a positive review or a positive reference. Like, that's just it. It should be down to the police force and the FEOs to be able to, you know, through their training, to be able to determine if the reference is trustworthy. And that's why I do find it odd that they changed it. Previously, it had to be somebody of high moral standing within society. And it didn't necessarily stipulate it, but it was pretty much, it had to be somebody that was a company director, that was a teacher, a doctor, you know, basically somebody that could sign a passport photo, right? And what that said to the police is this is somebody of high moral standing already within society. It's somebody that not automatically is trustworthy, but is more, by our social barometer, is more likely to be trustworthy, so therefore are less likely to lie. And this whole change of, you know, basically somebody you've known for 2 years, that does literally allow you to use anybody. And I'm pretty much saying that there are maybe some professions or vocations or jobs out there that lend to more trustworthy people than, you know, not. But let's be honest, you would trust a doctor, you know, perhaps more than you would trust a builder. So no offense to any builders out there, but you probably know what I mean. It just maybe bring back that. Maybe instead of this, well, you know, this review, maybe that's what they're going to find is like they actually need to stipulate who can be a reference. I think having a doctor as a reference would be a brilliant idea. It sort of negates the whole thing of, you know, oh, well, we didn't know he was mental. Yeah, you were his reference. It's like, oh no, they sneaked that past me. So yeah, I really don't like. Yeah, okay, the reference is probably it is a very important thing, but I don't see it from their concern. Look into it, maybe make it a little bit more robust. But yeah, this whole thing about positive canvassing, like, hello, it's like a job reference. Would you be a reference for on my CV? Yeah. Do you like me? No. I'm going to put you down as a reference then. We recommend that the UK government change the statutory guidance on firearms licensing to more strongly recommend that police forces involve present and formal conjugal partners in the application and renewal process. This is a big one. This is fraught with danger and oversight. Echoing the system used in Canada, this could involve police interviewing individuals present and former conjugal partners as a routine part of firearms licensing applications and renewals to confirm that the individual is suitable to own firearms. While this option may be a helpful addition to the firearms licensing process, it is not without risk. We heard that pressure to provide a partner with a positive reference might aggravate domestic violence. It would also place an additional burden on police resources. We urge the UK government to consider those risks and put in safeguards where appropriate. So yet again, your spouse can't actually be your reference for you. And okay, I don't necessarily disagree with the premise of interviewing, or at least maybe informally talking to your current partner. At the end of the day, your partner, somebody that you live with and most likely, have a family with and share a bed with, they're going to know a lot more about you than anybody else. You probably spend more time with that person than anybody else, and they spend more time with you than anybody else. So yeah, they're going to be a fairly good barometer of you. Of course, there is most likely going to be bias, and yes, of course, you're going to say to your other half, please don't drop me in it. please give me a good reference. Of course, as really as any good partner should, right? But going to previous partners, now that is they haven't talked about those risks and put in safeguards. There's usually a reason why somebody is an ex-partner, and most of the time it's amicable, and most of the time people are going to be fair and not will be out for vengeance. But there are going to be a lot of cases where ex-partners are going to be effectively contacted out of the blue after separating under less than acrimonious sort of conditions, and they are going to use the opportunity to royally screw them over. If you have a messy breakup, you have messy divorce, and everything's being said either side, and each side is out to get one another, and then a few years down the line the police phone up and go, oh yes, that guy that you went through this messy, horrific divorce with, that you said you never wanted to speak to again or talk to, and that he was the scourge of the earth. Yeah, well, he's applying for a firearm certificate. Should we let him have it? You could just see how that's going to go. And actually, on the flip side, regardless of, on one side you have the current partner that should, naturally be very supportive and, I guess willing to be more, to give more flattery for your suitability. But a previous partner is more likely going to be out for revenge, is more likely going to go the other way and be unfairly derogatory. That I don't think involving the partners either way, current or previous, is going to give any sort of meaningful, sort of objective view of your suitability. It's more than likely going to be biased in some way. So why do it? Why involve that step? These are people's partners. There is emotion there, and emotion shouldn't come into this. It should be done by the facts, and it should be done sensibly and objectively. When you have emotion brought into it, that's when things are going to be biased. That's where things are going to break down. We therefore recommend that the UK government conduct a review investigating the merits of creating a new service within the 101 service, which could direct callers towards call handlers with firearms expertise in the same way as lifeboat and mountain rescue services are reached via the 999 Emergency Control Centre. This would allow people close to a firearms licensing applicant to raise concerns about their suitability to be granted or to renew firearms licenses, for example, if there were concerns about the individual's mental health. Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is all about basically making it more clear or more available for people to report concerns. Because that works, right? We will get to this in a minute, because it does confirm everything that we already knew, but it just once again leaves you absolutely speechless. So they're talking about making it easier to create these hotlines. This is something that's already been about for a long time, that's already been spoken about for many years now. You know, these firearm, you know, basically dob in a firearms owner hotline. Again, in the general premise, I don't think is a bad idea. At the end of the day, if there is somebody out there that you genuinely feel is a danger to themselves or a danger to other people, like, the sensible thing is to make sure that they don't have means to be able to go and do that. And selfishly, purely selfishly, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they go and do it with a gun, with a knife, with a car, with a baseball bat, but selfishly as shooters and selfishly as firearms owners, you don't want them doing it with legal firearms, right? You want, in terms of protecting the sport, in terms of protecting firearms ownership here within the UK, like, as a community, we want to make sure that it's never with a legal firearm, because that's where we get things like this. So it is a really difficult topic, a really difficult situation where, you know, it's going to be your friend, it could be a family member, but you can't be blind to things like this. If you think they are going to use their firearms to hurt themselves or someone else, there needs to be a level of intervention. It's something that I have seen done sort of firsthand. I'm aware of people that have phoned the police on their friends because they were in a bad place, or they've basically gone to their friends and said, look, I'm taking your guns, right? Our FDs, you know, I'm taking your guns. You're not going away with those guns anymore. And a lot of the time, the people, them, you know, that may be difficult to begin with, but actually on reflection, they've come back and said, yeah, I wasn't in a good place, and not that I think I actually would have done anything, but you did the right thing. And usually people can appreciate, you know, you don't want to do that to a friend, and usually a friend can, you know, be objective about it and go, yeah, it was probably as difficult for you to do that to me as it was for me to have you do that. So, you know, like that is all about our self-policing sort of nature as a community. You know, we are effectively social clubs at the end of the day. You will spend far more time talking at a range than you ever will shooting. You get to know people very, very well, and I have gained lifelong friends from shooting, from within the shooting community. So, you know, first and foremost, you've got to look out for your friends. You've got to make sure that they're safe. So the flip side to that is, well, first of all, people within the shooting community already know about the mechanisms that you use for intervention and to make sure that people are kept safe from themselves or others. But advertising this line to just general members of the public, is that going to be open to abuse? Is that going to have fake reports made? Is that going to have false allegations made to people? You know, if you know your neighbor is a firearms owner and, you know, I don't know, you have an argument about bins, and then you go, oh yeah, he's a firearms owner. Oh yeah, I saw that advert, like dob in firearms certificate holders. Right, yeah, he's made a threat with guns, comes in. Right, once people realize how easy it is to really screw up somebody's life if they're a firearms certificate holder or shotgun certificate holder, that is so oftenly used as a threat and can be used as blackmail or something to strong arm another person. Advertising that to the wider public, I think is potentially a bad idea. At the end of the day, it is just sort of common sense. Like, if you're concerned about anybody, you know, being a danger to themselves or anybody else, like, you phone the police. You like, firearms or otherwise. Like, why do you need a specific hotline for it? So that's all the same. We recommend, when approaching potential referees, applicants would be required by police to share their unique application reference numbers with those referees. This would make it simpler to report concerns about applicants to the police. Again, this is sort of a mix of the previous two notes. Basically, if referees are pressured into doing it, referees need to feel like they are free to report to the police. And actually, this is probably one of the biggest issues with the referee service, is that a lot of times referees do not get contacted. So, it's like, you have this tool available to yourself. So what I think this is covering off is that if you're asked to be a referee and the police don't get in contact with you, there needs to be a mechanism that the referee can contact the police and say, oh, hang on a minute, guys, I was asked to be a referee, I was never contacted, but actually I have really big concerns about this guy. And again, there is a way to do that. It's called 101 or 999. It's like, again, if you have concerns of somebody with firearms, everyone knows the number to the police, right? Why does that need expansion on? We recommend that the current renewal period of 5 years remain in place for the time being. However, we recommend that a renewal period should be kept under review, particularly if an alternative, workable method of mental health monitoring and assessment were to be introduced, which we will look at in the next chapter of this report. I don't know, that sounds like more of a statement of intent. Workable method of mental health monitoring and assessment were to be introduced. Is this a sign of things to come? Psych evaluations as part of your renewals or firearm certificate applications. But interestingly, they're sticking at this 5 years. There's actually been a lot of talk about it expanding to 10 years, and perhaps this would be the key. Again, this is something that could work out either very well or very badly for firearm certificate holders. Basically what they're saying is, if they feel comfortable that there is a continuous, an effective continuous monitoring of people's mental health, which therefore sort of really does say if they're suitable or not, then we could potentially expand beyond the current 5 years to maybe that 10-year suggestion. We recommend that the UK government make the legislation related to shotgun licenses consistent with legislation related to firearms and air weapon licenses. We recommend that the UK government change shotgun license legislation to require people applying for shotgun licenses to demonstrate that they are fit to be entrusted with shotguns and provide character references from 2 referees. So it's like, this is the contradiction. Referees, it needs review. Referees, they don't really work. Referees, they're never really contacted. Oh yeah, but we now want 2 referees for shotgun. Well, it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it. Either the referees are not effective, or they're really effective, and that's why you need 2 for a shotgun now. And I'll be completely honest. Now, they do go a little bit, I think it's further down here. But anyway, this whole thing, I don't necessarily, again, disagree with, I know, it must be later on, but they basically say that they want the shotgun certificate. So at the moment, with a shotgun certificate or firearm certificate, with a shotgun certificate, you just need to not be a danger, right? You just need to be a fit and proper person. You don't need a good reason to own a shotgun. You could say, I like to shoot clays, I just like shotguns, and any of those. You don't even need to give a reason. If they ask why, you just go, well, that's a valid reason, because you don't need to give one. What it goes on to say in a second, which we will get to, is that they want to bring it in line with firearm certificates where you do need to give good reason. Good reason, certainly in a sporting aspect, is taken as membership of a Home Office approved club. Of course, you do have vermin control, you do have collecting, and the good reason, that's more up to you to be able to demonstrate to them that you have it. Whereas with target shooting, it's just like, I'm a member of Home Office approved club and I shoot regularly, there's my good reason. But bringing, what they want to do is make sure you have good reason for shotgun. Does this mean you're going to have like Home Office approved clay clubs? Or are you going to have to become a member of a clay ground? Or is it just going to be, well, my good reason is that I go clay shooting and it's pretty bloody difficult to go clay shooting without a shotgun. There's my good reason, which is pretty much the conversation that you have at the moment. Whilst you are not required to give good reason for a shotgun certificate application, the FVO, if they're worth their salt, is going to talk to you about why you want the gun, right? And yes, while legally you can just go, right? I don't think there's many firearms licensing departments or firearm inquiry officers, FEOs, that are going to then give you the certificate for going. You need to at least, oh yeah, I've been clay shooting, really enjoy it. Don't know if I'm going to do it every weekend or even once a month, but every now and then I'm going to go clay shooting. All right, cool. Sounds pretty reasonable. It is always odd why there is this difference between a shotgun and a firearm certificate. Of course, a lot of people say that it does date back to the whole Bill of Rights and the fact that it is actually a right to be able to obtain a shotgun certificate, and maybe not so much a right to obtain a firearm certificate. But why we have two certificates, I don't know, right? Like, I'm a big fan of just amalgamating them into one, not necessarily having all the additional jumps, hoops that you have to jump through, and hurdles you have to jump over, brought into shotgun, but maybe a more balanced approach. I certainly wouldn't want to see the slot system brought into shotguns, which is potentially what they're asking for with this. But yeah, in terms of the firearm, you need two references. For a shotgun, you need one. It's like, well, just pick one, right? Either one is good enough. Like, if you're willing to give a shotgun certificate to somebody based on one reference, what are they going to go and do with a 2.2 semi-auto that they can't go and do with a 12 gauge semi, right? It's like, just either one reference is good or two references is good. The unification, I think, ultimately would help in clarity, and bearing in mind one of the biggest barriers to getting into shooting is confusion, misconception, and people trying to understand the process in the first place. So making things more unified is only going to lead to more clarity and make things easier to understand. Of course, if they then use it as a big stick to beat you with and make it harder for you to get the shotgun certificate, then that sort of backfired. But yeah, I don't think we can get up in arms about that. We recommend that the UK government and the Scottish government work together to review the GP flagging system. Oh, Jesus. This review could address issues including communication between medical practitioners and the police, and problems which arise when firearms owners move medical practices. This is something that has been discussed many times with GPs, with national bodies for GPs, with the police, with the Home Office. We had a perfect solution in place, and then the GPs decided to backtrack. They decided, no, actually, we don't want that responsibility. We're out of here. You're on your own, mate. It doesn't need to be talked to. Like, they just basically need to change the law, which makes the GPs not liable, but are required by law to give, in their best medical opinion, a yes or a no. All they need to do is put a clause to say that they will not be liable for an incorrect decision unless there's gross negligence. But basically within reason, if somebody makes a professional judgment to the best of their professional opinion, and it turns out that it was wrong, like, that shouldn't necessarily come back on them. Of course, if they fail to look through the guy's history and he's an absolute clear-cut nutter, and they just haven't spent that 5-10 minutes reading through his record, then yeah, there should be some liability on there. But they need to just force the GPs to actually, be involved with this. More GP. Medical practice, merits, all the same sort of stuff. We recommend that UK government and Scottish government encourage and support the creation of buddy initiatives for firearms owners. Buddy initiatives could be integrated into shooting organisations, workplaces and sporting clubs. Buddy initiatives would enable individuals to recognise and raise concerns about changes in their buddies' mental health. Oh my god. This would formalise existing informal arrangements within shooting organisations and clubs. And just again, that is fraught with danger. It shouldn't just be down to one person. It shouldn't just be down to a buddy. Like it's down to the shooting, this informal arrangements within shooting organisations. Like that already works. Like, and actually, if you have this one dedicated buddy, what happens if you don't see that buddy for 12 months, right? But there's countless other people within the shooting club that you do, right? That just, unless they're going to pay the buddies, like that's the difference with the GPs, right? In the same vein of us going, well, hang on a minute, we don't want the liability or that responsibility of being a buddy, and the GPs go, well, we don't want it either. Well, yeah, well, you're paid for it, right? You're qualified. You've trained for a significant amount of time to be able to professionally give that opinion, right? We're not. We for the most part, our hobbyists are just. We just do this for the fun. We do it to kill off steam, right? If you're then a buddy and you have that responsibility, yeah, pay me for it, right? You want to put the cost of licensing fees up, but you want to make me somebody's bitch, then pay me for it. I'll pretty much do anything if you pay me for it, but I'm sure you guys already know that. We recommend that the UK government support the shooting community in advertising avenues to mental health support to build on recent release of leaflets about mental health in that community. Recommend that the UK government ask the Scottish government to join this effort in advertising mental health services to shooters and distributing materials such as mental health leaflets produced by shooting organisations. Yeah, all right, it's a nice touch, right? It's nice PC, nice green, like, woo, love everybody, be kind. What they need to concentrate on more is actually the biggest barrier to shooters seeking mental health support is actually clearer cut guidelines of not feeling like you're going to be villainized, not feeling that you're going to have your entire world turned upside down if you go in to your doctor for mental health issues. So many people that will not go to the doctor. They know they need to. They know that they could get better a lot quicker if they went to their doctor and sought professional help. But they won't, because they're a certificate holder and because of the county that they live in, they know that they're going to lose it straight away for even mentioning mental health. Maybe address that. Maybe that's a bigger issue that needs to be addressed rather than handing out leaflets. We recommend that the UK government and the Scottish government work together either to put mental health resources like counselling in place in remote rural communities or to ensure that mental health resources can be easily accessed in rural communities when tragedies involving firearms occurs. Or how about you sort of address the more wider issue of mental health, and you'll be more proactive than reactive. And there we are. That is it. That is all of the recommendations from the Scottish Affairs Committee. And yeah, it's an interesting one. They really do like to put their own flavour on things up in Scotland. It'll be interesting to see what the government takes out of that. I think they're already singing from the same hymn sheet from what we've already seen. There are things in that we just know 100% are going to be implemented. We're just going to have to watch and wait to see what the government responds with. At the end of the day, silver lining with air guns, they looked at it. The UK government, for England, Wales, looked at what Scotland did with air guns and they went, no. Like, that was a hell of a lot of money, a hell of a lot of time and effort for not a lot of results. So they have historically not listened to Scotland. I don't think we will be so lucky this time. Is Callum turning English shooting into OnlyFans? Nobody pay him. No, but if you want to join the Only ES fans and support the channel, you can join. There'll be a button somewhere that says join, and you get priority comments. Your comments get highlighted. There's actually a whole side panel on the back end of YouTube now that will purely only show me members' comments. So I do always try my best and make sure that those comments and are responded to first, or certainly at the very least responded to. And also during the live stream, you get a whole host of cool emojis that only members of the Only ES fans can use, like me and me again and me one more time and Big Daddy Dan and the face and Connor's as a T-Rex with a couple of baseball bats. Like, what? Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want that? So yes, no, there is no OnlyFans, but there is Only ES fans. And on that note, you don't need to join. I certainly don't do this for the money. Like, honestly, the legal fees alone, have not made this a good financial investment. But you don't have to pay. You don't have to, financially support. You can support with love and kindness. Hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed for future videos and future content. So let's see just going to quickly buzz through your comments. I know you guys have been wearing away. SHOT Show, is Magla going to SHOT Show? Unfortunately not. It is something on my bucket list. I've wanted to do it from the first time I found out about it. It's going to be awesome. When we do finally go, either as an individual, as sort of news, as media, or as Magload. It's just too expensive. We can't. It's too speculative. If you're a huge established company, certainly within America or within the world, then you can purely justify it based on the that networking, seeing your suppliers, seeing your dealers, seeing your big customers. That's how you can justify it, and the advertisement. But that's only if you go for a really big stand. The picnic tables out the back that nobody sees are still thousands and thousands of dollars, plus you have all your travel expenses. I think we ended up costing it out, and we weren't it was going to be in the region of about 10 to 15,000 for us to be able to do it. And we're currently at the position where it works out far better for us to do what we did back in April, which is to do a tour and to go and see big names within the practical shooting community, to really moreover speak to a lot of people, to understand the landscape of the industry out there and the way things are done and what the market really wants, or to spend that money elsewhere. We're big. Somehow Facebook lets us paid promote. Don't ask me. I don't know. I'm not asking any questions. All the time they allow us to do it, we're going to continue to do it. We would see a far better return on the business going and spending 10,000, increasing the annual budget for pay promote by 10k. It really is for every pound spent, it's pretty much linear. For you spend this, you will get X amount in sales. So based on that, yes, there's going to be a curve off, but yeah, I don't know. We're not quite there yet, and we can't speculate. Of course, we could go out there, have a stand, meet that one wholesaler, meet that one customer that absolutely transforms the business, that comes and spends a ridiculous amount of money, that opens doors. Yes, I know that's the big gain from SHOT Show, and it would be a hell of a time, but we can't invest it on speculation at this point. We will be going to Iowa though, or Iowa, or whatever you want to call it, IWA, and that's another bucket list one that I've wanted to do. and we will be going this year. So final plans haven't been cemented yet, but they're very much in the works. We'll be on a stand if if everything works out right. We will be sharing a stand with another UK company, but we will be out there. It will give us justification to be there, to get into the hall, to be able to go and speak to other people, but we will also have a presence, so we will hopefully potentially attract attract more business. And we've already been contacted by a few of our international dealers that have said, look, if you're at either, we're going to be there. We'll come and hook up and have a chat, which again is where there's a lot of benefit. Now that's a nice gift from Santa. Plenty of money to spend in the new year. Yes, fun tokens or shooting tokens. Looking after my alcohol drinking license after so many deaths linked to alcohol year after year in Scotland. I'm scared of how much it will cost. Yeah, if you want to talk about public safety and protecting people, alcohol and domestic abuse, alcohol has a far bigger impact. You would need a license to take it back to Scotland, as if you want to travel in Scotland with an air gun, and state a reason why you were taking it. Yeah, again, the whole thing about having an air gun license in Scotland is just ridiculous. With sort of there's no borders. Sorry guys, just catching up on your messages. Brian, they still can't put an actual figure on the price of FAC and shotgun certificate. They would end up paying us all, potentially. Tom D, if you think about it, most clubs charge at least £100 per annum for membership plus the cost of every match. 200 for an FAC that lasts 5 years doesn't sound too onerous as long as they do their job properly. Exactly. In Italy, gaming licenses went up to €1,800. Lots have given up. Yeah, that's what we don't want to be. Again, the whole argument about it being fair and us paying our own way, like, again, I'm not against that. I don't think that's unreasonable, as long as it doesn't become cost prohibitive, right? Then I'll start taking the stance of, hang on a minute, you're the guy, you're the ones that want the licensing, not us. You pay for it. I'll change my tune, I will. 50 quid for shotguns and a single shot rifle, £100 for semi-auto, 200 for full bore semi and handguns, 300 for full auto. You'd have my vote. Having to have references is so tyrannical. A single unemployed / retired person who is an introvert should be able to get their license even if they don't have any friends / relationships to ask for references. I appreciate that, and yeah, you do have there is a point there. If you're applying for target shooting, though, you should be a member of a club and you should be engaging with people within that club. Certainly, if you're starting out and you don't know a lot about shooting, you should be proactively going out there to learn from other people. Yes, you can do a lot of that online now. Look at this channel. But really, to get the most and become proficient and most importantly safe and responsible, that needs to be in-person interaction. So, again, it does create a barrier, but if you honestly don't, like, I'm probably gonna end up, I'm just despite appearances, I am a fairly introverted person at times, more in my natural surroundings. I'm certainly, going to a party, I'm certainly more an observer than an extrovert. So, and I'm a bit geeky, I'm a bit nerdy, I like my tech and all of that. So I can understand, being sort of that sort of person, and certainly knowing people that are on fair degrees, more hermity, let's say, yeah, that shouldn't necessarily be used against you. But if you are a single unemployed introvert that doesn't have any friends or relative or relationships, like, for me that's a bit of a warning sign in itself. Like, there's being introverted, there's being a little bit of a hermit and liking to keep yourself to yourself, but to not know anybody that can be a reference, like, to me that's a bit odd. To me that does ask a question, that does seriously pose a question. What if they're going to do if that X is abroad or isn't interested in giving up their time to be interviewed? It's stupid. Yep, completely agree. Aaron T, not everyone knows doctors and lawyers, and I'm glad they changed it, because the way it was before was very elitist. Most of my friends are just regular people. And military. Well, military, I believe, could still have been a reference, depending on what their role is in the military. But everybody should know a doctor. So, like, there's no reason, like, your doctor, right? Your GP can be a reference. And who else? It was fairly broad. Lawyer. Like, I do get your point. I do 100% get your point. But then, if you're working for a company, you should be able to, find a director within the company. I think civil servants can be, if you have a friend who's a civil servant, and that can be at any level. So yeah, again, I'm sat here, you're sort of making it sound like, yeah, all of my friends are doctors and lawyers, and they're not. Like, okay, I was in engineering, but it was a smaller company, so I knew the company directors. But my references, who are my original? Who did my shotgun reference? I can't actually remember. But when it came to my firearms certificate, I ended up using my one of the ladies in the undergrad office for the university, because I think it said like teachers, educators, or people within education, basically. So again, it's not just about high flying members of society, doctors and lawyers. There was normal average people included, like teachers and people that worked in education. But yeah, in one sense, yes, I don't want there to be any barriers, and I want it to be as easy as possible for people to get into the sport. But then on the flip side, if we're just going to agree to disagree that a firearms licensing system is needed, that is a barrier, and it is a balancing act of what's reasonable, what is a barrier that isn't just needless and isn't going to be preventative unless it actually does the job of preventing somebody that is unsuitable, versus having a barrier in place that is just no one is going to be able to pass regardless of their suitability. Unifying the certificate system will most definitely result in shotguns being made as hard to obtain as firearms. Wishful thinking it will be anything like the other way round. I agree, apart from the fact that the shotgun certificate holders have the most money and power, right? It is the game shooters and politically as well, the clay shooters that have the most power and influence. The multi-millionaires, the estate owners, the people that rub shoulders with politicians, with the high-flying members and influential members of society. Those are the people that are going to always make sure that shotgun certificates remain as easy as possible for them and their friends to be able to obtain. Yes, then it becomes about money. Then it comes about it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I think trying to bring the shotgun, dangerous tactic, right? And it's not out of spite or anything, but I think trying to bring the shotgunners, trying to get the game shooters caught up in the wider push for more sensible firearms legislation is very important. Because at the moment, you know, they're like, yeah, we're good, we don't want, take them, don't care, we've got our guns. As soon as you bring them into it, right, as soon as they're risking losing their guns, you know, that's when they're going to get involved, that's where they're going to start making phone calls, that's when, you know, money for lobbying is going to appear, and you're going to gain a lot more political sway. Anthony Elsa, qualified doctors don't want to risk signing med-cert, but they expect buddies to be qualified to see danger signs. Will they be asking my opinion on the best needles for stitches? I couldn't. Yes, I tried to be that eloquent, and you've just perfectly put. Absolutely. Don't forget qualified doctors and paid. Like they pay them and they charge, right? Fine, I'll be someone's buddy. That could be a really good way to fund your hobby. Be a professional shooter buddy. I'm a professional buddy. You know, pay, you know, a couple of £100 per buddy per year. Like, you could earn a nice shooting kitty. Sean Miller, sounds like the NEC stands. Yeah. Well, we will at some point do the British Shooting Show as Magload. Again, it's just very hard to justify, not only because they are the most expensive show to attend within the UK, but also it's just not our demographic. It is not our target market. So we end up spending the most money we would spend on a show for effectively the worst return. Like, of course, the Target Shooting Show for us is a win all round. It's the cheapest show to attend because it is one of the smaller ones, but it is our target market. So, like, it's exactly our demographic of the shooting community and our customers. And the Northern Shooting Show is sort of a bit in between. Yeah, it's a little bit more gamey, it's a little bit more, you know, tweed and wood shotgun, but there is a lot more practical, there's a bigger practical representation there. And because it's so far up north, we get to we're able to get face to face with customers we don't normally get to see. Plus, it's not extortionate. They have put the prices up significantly more than they have in previous years, which is why actually we're doing it outside this year. I don't know if I've actually said this on the channel, but we've managed to liaise with them. We weren't going to do the Northern Shooting Show because of the price increase, and yes, we still did okay, but it was like, actually, when you break it down, the amount of time and effort that it spends, like, we need to do really well to justify packing everything into the back of a van and setting up a stand and having those days. You know, like, the way I look at it is, you know, there's the marketing aspect of it, there's the customer interaction, which is pretty much priceless. So as long as we're, you know, breaking even or making a bit of money, then fine. But with the cost increase, it was gonna it's gonna sort of potentially push us over the edge, where we're like, this, when you take into account the time and effort, it's sort of, you know, business wise not worth it. But they phoned up and they were like, look, we would still like you to be there. You know, of course you do. You want our money. Is there anything we can do to get you to come this year? And we were like, well, screw it. Let's try something different. So we're actually going to have a pay and play stand. We're going to have 100% confirmed a practical shotgun pay and play. So, or, you know, if it's sort of going to be like a pay and play for just general show visitors, but also a demo area for Maglo products. Because I said to a lot of our products, they're best demonstrated actually with a gun and actually shooting and seeing the performance benefits. And they were like, well, yeah, we can do that. So we can have this area, so customers that want to try our gear will be able to come and try them on a range. We also want to use it as a as a advertisement for practical shooting, so get people actually guns in their hands, pulling triggers, trying it out. And what they're trying to work out at the moment, and I think it's doable, is we actually want to have a mini rifle. We want the range to be rated for mini rifle, which they're really up for, because yes, you have the pay and play trucks, the miniature rifle trucks, or like fairground ranges, whatever they call them. They've been there before, but this will be the first time that they've actually built a rifle bay, and they're really excited about it, because if it works out, then they can go to the likes of Blaser. Okay, we're only doing it in 2.2, but they can then go to the likes of Blaser and be like, hang on a minute, do you want an actual tri-bay for those guns? So, you know, we're working with them to make sure that the range is safe and up to spec, and you know, is safe, moreover, and conforms to all the regs so that insurances stand. So we're sort of using our experience to help them with that, and then they're effectively going to be given a blueprint that can be repeated for other stands in future. So yeah, come and see us at the Maglo stand at the Northern Shooting Show this year. It's late May. But we will be outside, but we will have lots of cool things for you to actually get hands on and try. But in terms of the British Shooting Show, we will be there. We will be there in person. I attend, like, every year without fail. I will attend the British Shooting Show. I will attend. Reminds me, I am not paying the ticket price this year. Like, the channel's got to give me some luxuries, right? I think we ended up, I think it was like £100 for the 2 days. Yeah, and I was like, I'm basically going there to promote the show, like. But yeah, I missed the deadline for the thing. Let me open that tab now, just like, remember British, because that's not, when is it? It's like February time, isn't it? If I've missed the deadline again for it, I'm not going to be happy. Yeah, 17th to the 19th of February. Press applications are open. Good. I will hit that up later. Got to save money where I can. But yeah, I will definitely be at the British Shooting Show. I will try and drag Connors along as well. He enjoys it really. But yeah, we'll be there. We'll have a stand at the Northern Shooting Show, and we'll have a stand at, if there's a Target Shooting Show this year. Of course, it was cancelled, unfortunately, this year, so next year. But yeah, we tend to try and be at all the shows. I assume Daniel means deer. No one really knows what Daniel means most of the time. Rick B, if authorities don't listen to themselves when giving back firearms, what change has a chance has a buddy got? Sounds like everyone is trying to get someone else to blame if it goes wrong. That's pretty much civil service in a nutshell, right? So what if someone works in construction and only knows builders? Well, builders will most likely be directors of their own company. I know there will be, like, I'm not arguing that there will be specific cases where people will find it difficult and struggle. Perhaps it should then be down to the police to make a judgment on that. Perhaps it should, there should be a thing of, basically, ideally it should be somebody of, of this job description. If not, let us know, and we will have to take that. It's like maybe like a halfway house approach. Will the mags be available in good time for the mini rifle world shoot? What mags? I don't know about any mags. Actually, there is a bit of a mag update, sort of an update of a non-update. So the reason, of course, we missed the stream last Thursday, that was because I was up in Wales with Connors till I didn't get home until sort of half 11, and that's because we were with the injection molders. We have a batch of magazines. Unfortunately, it was planned that this week we weren't going to go in, we were going to have a holiday. I have a nervous disposition when I see orders sat on the website, so I had to go in. Like, I just, for my own sanity, had to go in and clear down as many orders as possible. And I'll probably be in tomorrow actually to do that. And of course, if anybody wanted to come down, we're still, you know, we're only like down the road from the unit, so we can always, you know, easily hop there if needed. But more importantly, Connors, who is doing all the testing, he's been ill this week. So even regardless of Christmas, he hasn't actually been able to get into the unit to make up some samples to go to the range. So basically that's where we're at. We've got these what we believe to be production units. Connors will put some together. We'll go down to the range, make sure, you know, do a production test. As long as they're okay, as long as they function as we expect them to function, then we will be able to ship. So we are hoping we are hoping to potentially start shipping next week. And yeah, please once we start shipping, don't, like, it's going to take a while to clear down everybody's. We have more parts coming as well from the injection molders, but we literally took what they were able to run off in a day, and we're gonna put those together, get them ready to send out, and hopefully start clearing those pre-orders. So yes, we are very close. And of course, with the mini rifle weld shoot coming up very, very fast, you know, yes, they will be ready for the mini rifle weld shoot. And I think more importantly though, they need to be ready with enough time that people can use them, trust them, and be ready to go into the weld shoot with. You do not want to be going into a weld shoot with brand spanking new untested equipment. And I don't mean, you know, we've tested this stuff, oh god, have we tested this stuff, but like, you as a consumer, you as a competitor, if you're not going out there and verifying, like, never take a customer's company's word, you know, as gospel going into a high level competition. Or if your name is Paul Wyborn, never trust a ammunition manufacturer when they say, oh yes, don't worry mate, it will make major power factor. Do I have it? Oh yes I do, of course I do.
I think I'm going to chrono your ammo.
Hammer. And then
yeah.
Emotional damage.
And if you don't know what that is in reference to, then just you should watch more of the streams. What if all your friends are milkmen? Well, I'm sure you're going to know a milkman that owns their own company as a director. That is literally going to go. That is going to be my go-to answer now. Everybody will know a director. Bullets and pixels, sod the weld shoot, sooner the better. Yes, they are. They are very, very, very close. We actually, as I said, we have production units ready to test and pack up. So shouldn't be too long now. Marvin P was just looking at your on-air sign, and it would be cool to have a t-shirt with on-air and a gun on it. I like that idea. There are several t-shirts I need to make. Anyway, there are other topics. I didn't expect that to take up quite as much time as I thought it would be. Added to it, there was a bit about the gun control network. Don't really care what they say. Like, their opinion is sort of meaningless on the matter, apart from the fact that they have significant influence, which is annoying. So what are we? Let's go through some of the other topics. Oh yes, something else that is obviously we've covered to death, but this is a new element to it. So of course we know that the Plymouth shooting, ultimately the Keyham shooting, like when somebody goes on a murderous rampage, it is ultimately down to that one person, right? However, when we have a firearms licensing system, and we have firearms licensing departments, that the whole purpose is to follow out a pretty set of guidelines and procedures, which has a proven track record of preventing people that are more likely to go on murderous rampages from getting firearms. Then there has to be a little bit of blame when they don't do their job and they quite obviously let somebody slip through the net, and that has been added to. We already knew there were sort of systematic failings from Devon and Cornwall Firearms Licensing Department. Massive warning, red flags. Like, the guy, just by every suitability metric, should not have had his shotgun, should not have had a shotgun certificate. And this just adds more to it. Father of Plymouth mass shooter warned police his son shouldn't own shotgun license. Now, this was news to me. I'd heard that his mother had reported and had begged the police and begged, I think it was the NHS as well, to not let his son have shotguns. But now his father has come out with it, and also has a witness supporting that he told the police. Mark Davison told a pre-inquest review that he warned police his son should not own a shotgun license. The father of the Plymouth gunman told police concerns for his son in a bid to stop him owning a shotgun and firearms license. Mark Davison told senior Plymouth coroner Ian Arrow that he had contacted Devon and Cornwall police about his son's mental health before Davison killed his mother and 4 others in a 12-minute attack. Before officers had reached him, he had taken his own life. It's really for the better. The incident occurred weeks after the Firearms Licensing Department, the firearm and license were returned to Davison by police, who had originally seized the weapon in 2020 after he assaulted 2 teenagers in a park. Bridget Dolan, KC, counsel to the inquest, has told the hearing that Mr. Davison, this is his father, has a friend who was present when he phoned Devon and Cornwall police with his concerns about his son. Mr. Davison told the hearing, "I would like to say that when I initially phoned the Devon and Cornwall police and tried to stop the shotgun license by telling them that I did not think Jake was suitable or living in a stable home, like I've already said before, my friend was there, and he is the one who is willing to say that he witnessed saying such things, as well as being logged with police to confirm what I am saying." So this is whole thing about having, these suggestions, right, from this Scottish Affairs Committee, these recommendations for having the additional lines, right, having additional avenues where references or members of the public can get in contact with the police to report concerns that they have. The father of the guy responsible for killing 6 other people phoned the police and categorically told him not only was he not stable, but he was not living in a stable home, and that he should not have his shotgun and should not have his shotgun certificate. Not only that, but we are also aware that his mother did exactly the same, who was the one living with him. So you can create as many specialist hotlines as you want, but if you're not going to listen to them, if you're not going to act when that information comes in, or even investigate, that is what is going to lead to things like Kiam. And there is one more absolutely. Oh yeah, Davison's mother had been struggling to get help for her son, having been concerned about his mental health, according to reports. A previous hearing heard she had reported him to the Counter-Terrorism Prevent Programme. In terms of specialist in terms of specialist hotlines for reporting people, to report people that you have concerns about with firearms, it doesn't really get more serious and specialist than a counter-terrorism prevent program, right? So, like, if the police are not willing to listen to a father phoning them directly to ask for help, if the counter-terrorism programs are not going to relay the concerns of literally somebody's mother and literally the person living with them, then why do we need to waste time and money on a dedicated hotline for other members of the public to be able to phone in? His parents did in my mind, they did the right thing. They pleaded. They went, actually, in my mind, above and beyond to make sure that he did not have the shotgun. He did not have the certificates. It was just ultimately a failing from the police in allowing him to continue. He should not have had his certificate by any metric whatsoever. Some positive news on that. I've got to have a little bit of a rant every now and then. There's been a little bit of a win, practical related, with the UK PSA, but also another association. I've heard of the Shooters' Rights Association. I believe they were quite prominent with the handgun ban, but they are still doing various work. So UK PSA help SRA win refusal fight. In a time when we only hear bad news, it's rather refreshing to discover some good. And this is a topic that I get a lot of questions on fairly regularly in terms of practical shotgun and Section 1 shotguns. A UK PSA member had a refusal for a variation on his firearms certificate from his local police authority, so he commissioned the Shooters' Rights Association to help him fight the refusal. To this end, the UK PSA were contacted for evidence concerning the association's activity, and that part of this was in compliance with the shooting and competitions held by the UK PSA. The subsequent court hearing and application was reinstated as he had good reason for his request. So basically, what this comes down to is, or what I believe the sort of case is, there is a massive disparity between firearms licensing departments in the up and down the country in terms of what constitutes as good reason for owning a Section 1 shotgun. And funnily enough, when I first applied for Section 1 shotguns within Hampshire, I wasn't a member of the UK PSA. I just started practical shooting with Phoenix in Slimford, and I was like, oh yeah, I just want to do some practical shotgun. And yeah, sure, yeah, no worries, go for it. No safety course, no UK PSA membership. I was not a member of the NRA, and yeah, they had the Shotgun League and they did a bit of practical shotgun, but they're not the national governing body. And I don't know if I was actually a member of KFC by that point. But anyway, I digress. They gave it out fairly easily. But now I've heard of people in Hampshire where FEOs have gone, no, they've gone, I'm a UK PSA member, and they've gone, so? Where's your experience? Where you've done that? And you're like, they want a safety course. They want to see them competing in competitions. And they're like, well, they sort of need the gun first. Well, compete with a Section 2. Okay. It had been agreed long ago, I think it was within FELWIG, the Firearm Explosives Licensing Working Group, that good reason for a Section 1 shotgun was simply being a member of the UK PSA. If you're a member of a UK PSA, of the UK PSA, then you are able to enter matches, you're able to enter competitions, and therefore you can then you therefore have good reason for having the equipment to go and enter those competitions. So this was a little bit of, I think, a firearms licensing department pretty much getting their knickers in a twist, going, no, we think the barrier for good reason is far higher than it actually is. And obviously the UK PSA have then sort of gave their evidence to say, no, hang on a minute, this is what was previously agreed. And the last note is the NSRA. This is a really interesting video to watch because it just shows how confused everyone is about lead at the moment. It's absolutely ridiculous. So Field Sport Britain released this: the Westminster government's new heavy-handed approach to banning lead pellets and bullets will be a disaster for rimfire airgun shooting. That's the conclusion of the National Small Bore Rifle Association, GB, governing body for disciplines using this ammunition, many of which are Olympic sport. But this video, I highly recommend going and finding this on Field Sport's channel. You can find them on YouTube, because they get somebody from BASC on there, they get somebody from the NSRA, and interestingly there's a few changes. So previously BASC's voluntary transition was away from lead shot, and what this BASC rep now adds in is it's lead shot and quarry. So hang on a minute, it was just lead shot. Now you're saying also bullets for shooting at quarry, not just lead shot. Also, like the NSRA, like, okay, they do some outdoor shooting, they would be affected, but my reading through the consultation, my reading through the reports was that actually outdoor ranges were going to be less effective because the lead was contained. What the NSRA seem to think is that not only is that potentially not going to be the case, and there are going to be far higher restrictions, if not bans, of the use of lead for target sports outdoors, but you very much get the clear message that like BASC have just royally thrown everybody under the bus, and not even to save themselves. They have literally willingly thrown themselves and the rest of the shooting community under the bus for no good reason. It's what I said the first time that this voluntary transition was suggested or was made public by BASC. You are going to remove any argument you have to be able to fight any other additional ban that they want to bring in from lead. BASC have just handed everything on a silver platter. They've agreed that we should move away from lead. They have agreed that lead is bad, and they're like, yes, we should remove away from lead shot. And HSE and DEFRA have gone, oh yeah, and also lead pellets and lead bullets for target shooting and anything outdoors. And BASC have gone, no, that's not, no, we just said lead shot. Yeah, but you said lead was bad. Yes, we did. And you said we needed to voluntarily transition away from lead shot. Nah, you just said voluntary transition away from lead. And they've basically, like, almost quite literally shot themselves in the foot here, because they now have no leg to stand on to be able to go, actually, well, but it's not as bad here, so we should keep it. But no, you said lead was bad. You said that it was contaminating. You said that your own membership would be on board for moving away. And, not only does, we always have an uphill battle, right? We always are on the back foot when it comes to stuff like this. But they've just willingly given them a head start on it, right? Like, they should know it never works in our favour to be cooperative when it talks about new restrictions and new laws and potential bans, right? You give them an inch, they quite literally will take your handguns. And I, as close as I come to joining BASC again, because over the last year they have done an incredible amount of good and supplying incredibly valuable information, it's just like they just have royally screwed us. Like, I was very optimistic that actually, target sports, it would just be the vermin shooting, it would just be the game shooting that would be would be affected, and that's not, I'm not saying that's good, but on a selfish note, like target shooting, it's like, okay, you haven't like massively thrown everybody under the bus, but when you start seeing videos like this, it's like, well, potentially they have. Why are you guys talking about fucking milkman? Colin Penfield, what are section 2 and section 3 firearms exactly? There's not actually a section 3, it's section 1, section 2. Section 2 is a shotgun certificate. Section 1 is pretty much everything else that isn't prohibited. So rifles, black powder, stuff like that. So, you know, bolt action rifles, underlever rifles, but also shotguns. Confusing, right? So basically, an unlimited capacity shotgun becomes section 1. A section 2 shotgun, it can be an over and under, it can be a side by side, can also be a semi-auto and a pump, but it has to be restricted to 2+1. But it's basically the two main areas of our firearms law. It's pretty much shotguns and rifles and black powder. And then in terms of the only other real main section that you need to be aware of is section 5, which is everything else, which is handguns, full auto, and the like. But yeah, Baska's royally throwing us down the river. Game dealers will only take deer shot with copper these days. The move to lead free for stalking is already well progressed, and that is certainly within, you know, with deer stalking, with vermin shooting, and with game shooting, there is a hell of a lot more progression with the ammunition moving away from lead free. Fair enough. What the NSRA has come out and doubled down on is that basically, even they were saying even the most basically the lowest skill leveled of shooter would be able to outshoot an Olympic champion if they were using lead and the Olympic champion was using non-lead. They were saying that for target shooting, where, you know, again, and I know people, you know, get their knickers in a twist about this, so I'm sort of paraphrasing and being a little bit more generalized. You know, if you're shooting at a deer, like, and, you know, your group size goes from that to like that, right? Not a big difference. If you're shooting in a 25 meter, you know, air rifle championship, you know, Olympic match, whatever, and your groups go from that to that, big difference, right? And that's what they were saying, is that in terms of sport, in terms of target shooting, moving away from lead basically makes it a crapshoot, right? It's just a lottery. Who ends up getting the most consistent batch? Who ends up with the good batch of ammo? The accuracy is not there yet. It is effective, and there are effective alternatives. Let's not get into cost for deer stalking, for game, but for target shooting, it's nowhere near in performance, and that's what the NSRA are saying. At least when Basque shot themselves in the foot, the bullet was lead free. Some are already paying doctors extortionate amounts for medical reports, let alone also having to pay them to be a reference as well. Well, you shouldn't have to pay them to be a reference. That's certainly, I don't think, something they can charge for. Well, they probably would. Didn't they say target shooting won't be effective? Nobody has actually said that it won't be affected. What the report said was, it didn't say it wasn't going to be affected. It said that it wasn't proposing a complete ban. But the NSRA seemed to be, and Field Sports seemed to be thinking that that might have potentially changed. What definitely was clear is that there would be further requirements for lead management at ranges, which could sort of be a backdoor ban. But anyway, on that note, before I go, hit that like button, because there's like 100 of you here and there's like 67 likes. Like, what's going on? Like, if you're watching and you're not liking, why are you watching? So hit that like button. It's free, makes a huge difference. Make sure that you all are subscribed. And of course, I hope everybody has a fantastic new year. Moving into 2023, I've got to leave the last live stream on a typically somber note, but you know, I was thinking of doing like an end of year special, like highlights and all of this. I might do that in the new year, you know, looking back into 2022 rather than reflecting back in the current year, you know, if you know what I mean. But yes, here's a question for you. Will 2022 be seen as the beginning of the end, or the beginning of the downfall of firearms licensing? It's going to be an interesting new year. 2023, I think we're going to see a lot of change, hopefully for the better. Hopefully things do improve, but not everything is is about shooting. So I wish everybody the best New Year's possible, the best year for, well, all the best in 2023, be that shooting or otherwise. So big happy New Year to all of you guys and everybody that supports, watches and subscribes to the channel. So there we go. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, and of course, as always, I hope to see you soon.